The entire goal of our organization is to make sure that the Fourth Amendment is kept strong and enforced by the federal government. Mark Klein exposed the Fusion Center here in San Francisco, a joint organization between the NSA and AT&T to steal American data right here in the city. He'll be speaking along with Daniel Ellsberg and Norman Solomon. Edward Snowden, we're also protesting for his rights. The more people we can get, we can push it into the national discourse. When that happens, we have a chance of stopping it.
This is being coordinated with other cities.
Primarily New York City, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. There are many other smaller protests in Sacramento, Dallas, Chicago.
When I learned about the mass surveillance, I felt like I was reliving the novel named for the year of my birth. We're going to be living in a state with Big Brother.
The two aims of the party are to conquer the whole surface of the earth and to extinguish once and for all the possibility of independent thought.
You had to live, did live, from habit that became instinct, in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, and except in darkness, every movement scrutinized.
The whole aim of Newspeak is to narrow the range of thought. We shall make thought crime literally impossible. There will be no words in which to express it. Every concept that can ever be needed will be expressed by exactly one word, with its meaning rigidly defined.
Freedom is slavery. He wrote beneath it, 2 and 2 make 5.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
They're telling us that we need to give up our Fourth Amendment rights to win the war on terror. How are you going to fight terrorism? By proving to the world that it works. We will never win the war on terrorism until we start listening to that little voice that is speaking inside of us, and it's saying some words that have grown pretty dim. We have nothing to fear but fear itself.
NSA goes directly to companies and gets our emails, chats, communications from Google, Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, without a warrant. NSA is collecting phone record information about every single American, who you call and who calls you. That information is a map of human interactions and can reveal who your friends are, how often you talk to your family, your interaction with lawyers, with strippers.
He discovered that AT&T had installed network hardware to monitor and process American telecommunications on behalf of the NSA. He compiled evidence and blew the whistle on AT&T's cooperation with the NSA.
When I was working at the AT&T Internet Room, they had installed glass prisms that split the laser light beam that carries the information on the Internet. The other half went to the NSA secret room. They were copying the Internet data stream, not only from AT&T, but companies that were connected into AT&T's network. I brought that to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They joined my documents to a lawsuit against AT&T. The government very quickly stepped in and tried to get the case dismissed on grounds of state secrets. The judge refused to dismiss it. I went with my lawyer, tried to contact Senator Feinstein. She became the spearhead of a push to pass a special law to give the phone companies retroactive immunity for any crimes they might have committed. Keith Alexander boasts, it's all legal. Congress has approved it. Snowden has brought it out to far more people. He has the indisputable NSA documents, and the court order from FISA showed they were sweeping up the data on everybody's phone calls at Verizon. And you can be sure they're doing the same for AT&T. Not just domestic to foreign phone calls, but domestic to domestic phone calls. They think the whole American population is suspect. Snowden showed they've got their hands in Google, Yahoo, and Facebook. That's when made a lot of people realize, hey, this affects me. If they want to look at you, They can call it up with that program X key score. They can get you. Defend the whistleblowers and prosecute the criminals. Washington and the White House, they want to prosecute the whistleblowers and protect the criminals. Hands off Edward Snowden.
Our next speaker leaked the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times, revealing that the government had misled the public about U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. Join me in welcoming an American hero, Daniel Ellsberg.
What Snowden is revealing affects all of us. There's a potential there for getting Americans together to say, we don't want you in our home. The dangers to democracy are too great. Veterans of NSA, Russell Tice, who worked on secret programs involving satellite systems, puts in 2 dots to be connected. Snowden, I'm sure, knows the answer, but hasn't yet revealed the documents that make it clear. Tice has been willing to say they are not just collecting metadata on every American. They are collecting every word you say on email. Obama tells us we're not listening to you. Kidding. To have one person listening to every 2 people on a phone line would take more people than he really has. He's TiVoing it for later retrieval, along with all your credit card transactions, your whereabouts every minute of the day that you have an iPhone. The other point that Tice makes is in 2003, 2004, 2005, he had in his hands the full surveillance action. Phone calls of staff, home and office of Feinstein, Pelosi, Colin Powell, Justice Alito, every Supreme Court justice being individually targeted, every journalist, every source, every news agency. These are things we don't yet have the documents on. Should they be telling these under oath to Senator Wyden, Senator Udall, and should Mark Klein at last be able to talk to them directly? Yes, we can demand that they open their ears, make them accountable. Bradley Manning, Snowden, of course they are whistleblowers. Of course they are not traitors. The prosecutions and the accusations themselves are extremely more than chilling. One more 9/11, the lists that they've composed just by the metadata alone of our association can put us all in camps very quickly like the Japanese in World War II. The attention of the American public has been achieved by the drama of Snowden's ability to resist the attempts of the government to silence him. A worse world is very possible. That's the way we're headed. The response to Snowden has showed me that there is a possibility to use our remaining democracy and see that we don't lose the rest. We were all facing lifetime sentences. Snowden not yet, but he will. It's up to us to see whether we achieve what they have each said was their highest hope. Informed discussion, investigation by Congress. There is something to work with, and there is something that is worth your lives to try to hold on to and regain.
Norman Solomon, outspoken champion of whistleblowers.
How can consent of the governed really function if we, the governed, don't know what our government is really doing? The entire process of the surveillance state is to say, you don't have a right to know what your government is doing. People on the so-called Intelligence Committee, only certain members of the House and Senate are allowed on those committees. The great abolitionist Frederick Douglass said, power does not concede without a demand. There's another kind of power that doesn't come from up above, that isn't dictatorial, the power of the people. That's where democracy comes from. We and people around the country are rallying and protesting today to say we refuse to accept the surveillance state. People around this country understand today more than ever that the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment are sacred, and we're not going to put up with our government trashing the Bill of Rights. People understand more and more that as long as the President and the heads of these committees and the top echelon of government can double talk and triple talk and talk around the fact that our rights, such as the Fourth Amendment, are being squashed by agencies like the NSA, then we don't have any semblance of democracy. People understand that more and more, but not. It's absolutely essential to build our movement to protect the Bill of Rights, that we are in the streets and in the elections and we're struggling for power. We serve notice on Nancy Pelosi today. You do not deserve to represent us anymore.